We stayed in Manhattan's Wyndham Hotel. We had breakfast at Norma's, but not the $1,000 caviar frittata. Carnegie Hall was built in 1890. It was to be demolished in 1960, but a group led by Isaac Stern saved the building. The small hall where we heard Michael Brecker was completed in 2003. An old joke has become folklore. How do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Broadway begins in Lower Manhattan and ends in Albany, 150 miles away. It is one of the longest streets in the world. Its official name is Highway 9. On May 28th and July 12th, sunrise and sunset are aligned with the street's grid line, so the sun is visible on the horizon at street level. We attended the Broadway show Good Vibrations, based on the music of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. 1904, the New York Times built the Times Tower just off Broadway. The inauguration of the new headquarters was celebrated with a fireworks display that continues to the present, the Times Square New Year's Eve tradition. In 1917, the first large electric billboard was installed. Billboards have become such a tourist attraction that zoning regulation now requires buildings to have electric displays. The Guggenheim Museum was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and is admired as much for its architecture as it is for its art. Christos was setting up his installation of 7,000 saffron gates in Central Park. Central Park was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. Construction began in 1857 and took a decade and $10 million to complete. Its 843 acres span 2.5 miles from 59th to 106th Street by 1/2 mile wide from 5th to 8th Avenue. Central Park was built on an English landscape plan with meadows, lakes, and hills and wide pedestrian paths. Central Park Reservoir has been named after Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. The Empire State Building was called the eighth wonder of the world when it was built in 1931. It is 102 stories high, 1,472 feet tall. It has 73 elevators and 2 million people visit each year. On a clear day, you can see 80 miles in all directions. New York City has 685 miles of subway track and 490 stations. 4.8 million people ride the subway every day and 1.3 billion people each year. The World Trade Center Twin Towers in Lower Manhattan were built between 1966 and 1970, and for a brief time were the tallest buildings in the world. The towers were destroyed by terrorists on September 11, 2001. 2,763 people were killed in the worst ever terrorist attack on U.S. soil. New Yorkers showed their grit and rebuilt at ground zero. A memorial was established to remember fallen firemen. Reconstruction plans include a 1776-foot tower and a World Trade Center memorial called Reflecting Absence, where every year at 8:46 a.m. on September 11th, a wedge of sunlight will be directed across the Park of Heroes Memorial Field as a remembrance of those who died in the tragedy. The trading area of the New York Stock Exchange is about two-thirds the size of a football field. Wall Street runs from the East River to the Hudson River. The Dutch originally built a fortified wall along this street to keep out the British. Wall Street is now one of the money capitals of the world. Trinity Church is a historical Episcopal church at the end of Wall Street. It is 300 years old and received its charter in 1697. Alexander Hamilton is buried here, and George Washington worshipped in this church. Wall Street celebrates financial bull markets.
Sidewalk plaques on Wall Street commemorate ticker tape parades. The first ticker tape parade celebrated the dedication of the Statue of Liberty in 1886. The Peace Sphere in Battery Park was recovered from ground zero.
A heavy January snowstorm snarled city traffic. Garbage trucks were equipped with plows to clean the streets. We watched the incredible Savion Glover play classical music with his tap shoes. We had a soul food brunch at B.B. King's Blues Club and watched the Harlem Gospel Choir. We celebrated our last evening in New York City with an omakase dinner at Nobu Restaurant. Our first appetizer was presented with gold leaf.
There's lettuce dressing on it. Some greens and
There were four.
Spanish mackerel with straight beet, cilantro.
This is blackened miso cod. And then this is Japanese mint.
Piece of foie gras.
This is, foie gras under it. This is a pepper which is hot. We're just trying to recap what we've got. This is an onion. And I don't remember what these are. What are these two? Blackened?
This is pickled onions, and they're wrapped also with the shiso, the Japanese mint. And you can also eat them in a hand, so it's a palate cleanser.
But this, what's the list again?
It's Kobe beef and shiitake mushrooms with asparagus. And citric soy teppanyaki sauce. Sushi course from left to right. Tuna, striped bass, sea trout, Japanese whitefish, and eel, and miso soup. Pomegranate granite to cleanse the palate before dessert. Decorated with gold leaf.
It's a green tea sauce too.
Bento box with green tea ice cream and chocolate souffle.